Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're discussing how to buy a house with hard money. For those of you who haven't watched my video on what hard money is, I would suggest watching that video first. That way you understand what we're talking about here when we're talking about what hard money is. So, get right into it. We're going to use a real life example of a house that I did buy using hard money. The way we get real numbers, everything's rounded off, make it simple to understand of the whole concept. So, we have the current value of the house at $115,000 prior to any repairs. I estimated the repairs to be about $30,000, and then closing costs for it about $15,000. So all in, the amount to purchase this property and renovate it would be about $160,000. So what I did estimate the value to be, the future value of the house after the repairs were made, was $240,000. Now, this is a number that you come up with typically with your hard money lender. Everyone's a little bit different, but how my hard money lender works is we both come up to what we expect the value to be of the house once the repairs and renovations are complete. So we valued it to be around $240,000, and then why you come up with that number is because they typically lend 70% of what the expected value is to be once completed. So 70% of the $240,000 is $168,000. So that is how much money I'm able to get. So, I only need $160,000 from my estimates, but I'm able to get $168,000. So typically what I'll do is I'll just take that $168,000. That way, I just have a little bit of extra money just in case. I mean, $8,000 is not that much more, but in case any unexpected repairs, renovations come up that are already not calculated into my repair budget. Usually my repair budget includes unexpected or anything extra that might come up during the process, but this is just an additional buffer just in case, because obviously the biggest issue, you don't want to run out of money during this process. So with the monthly payment, so hard money is typically just interest only payments for 12 months. Some of them have different variations. Some of them do 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. So mine does 12 months. So the interest rate is 12.5% a year, so it's pretty steep interest payment every single month, and the payment is $1,750. And like I said, that only includes interest. That includes no principal, no home insurance, and no property taxes. So what this number is it's motivation to get this project done. When you're going through the planning phase, before you actually settle on the property, I mean, you should have had it well planned. You should be able to get contractors out there before you purchase it. I mean, typically, by the time you put the offer in and accept it, and then you settle, it's typically about 2 to 4 weeks with a hard money loan. So it gives you time to get a contractor together, get estimates, get plans drawn up, at least to get started. That way, the day you purchase it, you're already doing renovations. Demo work typically happens day one that you own it. That way, you can minimize this payment. After the 12 months, if you do hold the loan for 12 months, typically the entire loan amount is due, a balloon payment. But what I typically do is 6 months after purchase of the property, assuming all the work is done, renovation's 100% complete, you look into refinancing it from a hard money loan to just a regular conventional 30-year mortgage. Okay? The benefits of doing that are great. So most refinance of conventional properties that you don't live in will refinance it at 75% of the current market value, which after renovations should be $240,000. So 75% of that is $180,000. So our original mortgage or hard money loan was $168,000. Our new one is $180,000. So typically, as you can see, obviously that's more. So from that $180,000, you will pay off the $168,000. There will typically be about $5,000 in closing cost. So to refinance it, $80,000, right? You pay off the $168,000. That leaves you with about $12,000. Okay, you have $5,000 in closing costs to refinance. Lender fees, escrows, other things like that. So you're probably talking, like I said, about $5,000, and that leaves you with about $7,000. that you can either take out in equity, so get a check at the refinance table for $7,000, or you could just take a $7,000 less mortgage. So instead of it being 180, you could do 173. So you can do a mortgage for 173 and get zero money at the table, or you can do a mortgage for 180 and get $7,000 at the table. I personally recommend taking the cash. It's not going to increase your payment that much. I mean, it's $7,000. The interest, it might increase your monthly payment by like, $50 or so. So I always take the cash, unless it's only a couple $1,000s, and sometimes I might just leave it in there. I don't feel like dealing with that. So you take the $7,000. So we're just going to run the numbers with taking the $7,000. So you have a $240,000 house, okay? So now we're going to see how much money you've made doing it this way, okay? So about $60,000 in equity in the house. So you have $60,000 in equity plus your $7,000 in cash. So, you're coming up with about $67,000 that you've made off of doing this flip and refinancing it into a regular conventional mortgage. Now, obviously, that's a decent amount of money. That's not all taxable. In fact, none of that is actually taxable. But all of this actually over here, your $30,000 and your $15,000, can actually be a tax deduction on the property. So any repairs money you've put into the property will now be used as an expense on the property, lowering your taxes for this property, and you can offset that with any other gains you have on other properties. And the reason you're not taxed on this is because you're not selling the property. When you do sell the property, you will be taxed on the gains, but if you never sell the property, you're not going to be taxed on the gains. Unless you do a 1031 exchange, which is a whole nother topic, and you can do that to avoid taxes basically forever, and you could pass it to your children and they wouldn't have to pay taxes forever as well on the gains of the property. But that's a whole other topic. So not only are you getting a $240,000 house for $115,000, not only are you getting a $240,000 house for $160,000 in costs plus whatever your holding costs were for those 6 months. If you do 6 months times that, you're probably looking at another, $10,000 or so. So $170,000. Doing it this way, it allows you to basically, and notice how none of the money over here you put out of pocket. So this includes a zero down payment, which you can do with a hard money lender. You can buy a house with zero money out of pocket. Typically, you'll put down maybe $500 to $1,000 just as a deposit for the contract. You have to do that with any offer you put in. But it's not that much money if you put $1,000 out of pocket to buy a house. That's basically no money. When you look at the big picture, that's no money. So this is basically the best way I find to buy real estate quickly with very little to no money out of pocket, and basically building you lots of equity. You're talking $60,000 in equity in 6 months. Obviously, you could sell it for $240,000, right? But the disadvantage of doing that is you have the $240,000, okay? You have to pay off your $168,000 mortgage, okay? And then you have basically closing cost. In Delaware, you're probably talking close to, we're just going to say 10%, because if the buyers want you to pay for closing costs, all that stuff, you're looking at another $24,000 off. So basically, you're looking at about a leftover of $48,000. Now that's obviously cash in pocket, but now since you have sold the property, you have realized the gains on the property, you now have to pay taxes on that. And just using an average tax rate, well, just to keep it simple, 25%, you're looking at paying $12,000 in taxes. So right there, another $12,000. So you're basically getting $36,000. I would say it's a good amount of money to get, but you are getting, on this side over here, you're already getting $7,000 in your pocket, plus you still have $60,000 in equity in the house, and you have all the tax advantages of this cost. So really, the tax advantages, so you have $45,000 right there. At the 25% tax rate, it's pretty similar to this, so we're just going to round it up a little bit just to keep it simple. So you have another $12,000 in benefits, tax benefits here. So now you're talking $79,000 on this side, when on this side, if you sold it, you're talking $36,000. So simply just by keeping the property and refinancing it and then renting it, you're getting $79,000 instead of $36,000. Obviously, people who don't want to deal with tenants and hold on to the property for any other risk they see in the future that might happen, obviously this is the way to go. But if you're looking for long-term investment, a good passive income, this is definitely the way to go. Buy it with hard money. After 6 months of renovations, refinance it, and these will be your benefits every single time. And this doesn't even take into consideration the rents that you will be getting and your principal paid down, on the mortgage. So as every month as you're paying down the mortgage, obviously this balance goes less every single month, and the money you gain from the rents. So long term, this is definitely the way to go. If you're looking for the short-term game, just get a really cool check at the end of the settlement after you do all the work. That's the way to go. But for me, 99 times out of 100, I'm going this way. The only way I'd go this way is if I don't feel like it would be a good rental. But if I don't feel like it'd be a good rental, I typically don't buy the house anyway, so I typically wouldn't be in that situation. But I just say 99 times out of 100 just in case there is a time where I think this is better. So that is basically how you buy a house with hard money. It's a pretty, great tool to invest in real estate. I find it to be the best way to do it. There are other ways to do it, obviously. The 12.5% interest rate is definitely, something hard to handle sometimes. But obviously, you take that in consideration of your numbers at the beginning. This is basically how you would do your numbers to determine, whether this house is a good investment. That $8,000 right there that I took out, but I really only need, 160. That pays for basically, 4 or 5 months of the monthly payment. So, just by taking out an extra $8,000, I can use it to just make sure I have that money for the monthly payment as well as any unexpected costs that might come up. So, it's definitely the way to go. Hopefully, this was good information for you. Hopefully, you at least got something out of this video. If you made this far in the video, I appreciate if you'd give it a like. If you like this stuff the channel's putting out, feel free to subscribe. That way you don't miss any new content. We have videos coming out basically 1 to 3 times a month. 1 to 3 times a week. So until next time, guys, I'll see you then.